Thank you for watching this Last Mile Profits video.
Can scanning technology really make a difference in your last mile? Keep on watching to find out more.
Last Mile Profits is brought to you by Parcel Pending by Quadient.
Gary, you know I'm a big fan of new technology and AI. And today I'd like to talk about scanning because we've never really done that. If I were to talk about matrix scan, what would that say to you?
To be honest with you, Marek, not a huge amount. My fondness for scanning is probably equal to yours, maybe, but in this instance, you have the upper hand.
Well, look, I'll tell you what, because this is something that actually blew me away. We know that labour is increasingly difficult to get hold of, expensive. More and more countries are mooting shorter working weeks, etc., etc. And this is about basically making your people more efficient. And the technology basically allows you, with your own device, so it doesn't necessarily have to be some super expensive professional device, you can actually select one out of a whole number of parcels. Of course, there's some challenges. The labels have to be facing your way. And frankly, that's it. Pretty much if you've got that, it's going to work. And the best thing is it's not just a question of capturing. So, for example, if you imagine a PUDO environment where you might have 30 parcels, instead of having to scan each one picture could scan them all. If you imagine somebody on a route, it can actually work in a way that, it will tell you which parcel's next on the route. How about that?
Sounds pretty cool. I mean, the other challenge I'm guessing this can probably solve as well is when you see some of this inbound international stuff, sometimes there's so many labels on the front of the parcel and labels with multiple barcodes and, QR codes adjacent to 32 character, strings and all this sort of thing. Can it help cut through that chaff as well? Because I've seen probably more problems where which is the barcode I want to scan for the operation that I'm doing versus I've got 30 parcels to scan, I haven't got any time.
To be absolutely honest, Gary, the answer is I'm not sure, but I think, given that this is quite smart, because the guys, there's several suppliers, but the guys that I talk to understand better has scanned it. And because that's effectively all they do, typically their solutions are pretty holistic and pretty watertight. So yeah, I would imagine that it is able to select if you've got, in fact, I sort of remember that was there. If someone from Scandit is watching this video, please comment below and confirm. But what I think actually will happen is that it will select the right barcode. So that makes it easier. And I reckon, Gary, anything that removes workload, that reduces the scope for mistakes has got to be good news.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it does beg the bigger question, obviously, is I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I read an article and it was the 50th anniversary of the barcode. So barcodes, we see them as a modern thing. They're on every product we buy. They're pretty ubiquitous. We're not shocked when we see them everywhere. They're part and parcel of daily life. And I hadn't realised that they'd been around for quite such a long time. Not as long as we have, Marek, but a long time nonetheless. But how many of these technologies really last much longer than that? So what's the next thing? So we've got this artificial way of summarising information to make it easy. What was to make it easy to read with dumb devices. Now, as you've just described, we've got the super smart devices, huge resolution cameras. I've got a new iPhone. It's got claims a resolution on the camera, much higher than a digital SLR of even 1 or 2 years ago. So why are we bothering with this at all? Why don't we just point it at the parcel, point it at an address? I think this is what those guys at Stamps Free are promoting, right?
I reckon, let's be honest, Gary, this has been around for a while. And I can actually imagine the thing that everybody would like to see is a financially viable version of RFID. Because, that is incredible. If you could do that, and I think, Gary, from my perspective, and I'm not a guru on this, so please, again, if anyone's watching and I'm talking absolute rubbish, and this is your chance to actually catch me out. But I think the problem is not the RFID sticker or label, whatever it is itself. But you need the gates and the hardware in several places to make it work. But I think that will be the ultimate.
No, I completely disagree. I completely disagree. We talked about printing and people not having printers at home. If people creating labels, you're talking about more and more specialist kit. I'm on about getting rid of specialist kit. Why can't I write your email address on the front of a parcel, put it in a box somewhere, and that's because that's unique to you, and probably a combination of email address and IP address. I reckon I can find out where you are. Also, there's some bit of kit in the background, a bit of AI just at the beginning in the background will find its way to you. Why do I need any of this rubbish? Why can't a camera just look at it and go, oh, that's Rozycki at .pl, and it just wings its way to you, or your mobile phone number. When you pay with your banking app now, it says pay your contacts. Just put the phone number of the person in. I don't need your IBAN, your sort code. Why are you proposing something that's probably just as old as barcodes?
Well, I've not seen you quite excited for a while. Well, look, first of all, I reckon that the technology is already there to do a lot of this. And again, some of the really top guys and girls out there are able to actually scan some of the fluorescent barcodes. But that's a subject for another day. But what I would say, and this is where actually I'm going to agree to disagree, RFID, it's not just the point at which Joe Public drops off the item. It's throughout the network afterwards. You want to be able to very quickly and easily identify. And if you had an ability to do that at really low cost, because even these super cool scanning tools, you have to know where the item is. So once you're able to point it, and you've got these issues that the label has to be, in the right direction, because even the best scanning tool today will only work if the label's physically visible. So, I think there is scope. Maybe the truth is it's a halfway house. And maybe our listeners can comment and give us their feedback, what they think. But maybe because we're coming to the end of our time today, we can summarize where we're at. There is some really, really cool stuff out there which can save time and effort based on where we are today. I still firmly stand in the camp that maybe the next stage will be to supplement that with some kind of low-cost RFID. Maybe there'll be an option to do it with much cheaper infrastructure. But let's see what people say. Gary, this was a particularly interesting one because I've not seen you come out so strong in the past.
I've been on holiday and my batteries are recharged. So
that's what it is. And I have the opposite because I had a slight challenge with traveling to Spain last night, and I had a little bit less sleep than normal. So, touche, looks like you hold the day today. One last thing, if everyone's enjoyed the video, please click like and subscribe. Helps us keep these videos free for you. Gary, great talking. Look forward to the next one.